So today I am not in the Zendo. I am in the mountains of western Massachusetts, surrounded by birds, chipmunks, bears, trees. It's quite beautiful here. And I've been here all week. I came to this area for a women's retreat and have stayed to take care of my family's, to clean up my in-laws' home. So just really thinking about care for the natural world today and care for each other as an interconnected whole. So I came out of retreat to learn news that could be distressing, especially, there's just been a lot of news that feels out of care for each other and for the natural world. And I want to offer that we don't have to give in to an apathy or a despair around that, but can really find that care with each other in our own hearts and with the world around us. So I'm going to start by reading a passage from Dōgen Zenji's Zuimonki. We've been reading this sometimes in the mornings, and this particular passage is one I wanted to share today. You should consider things only for the sake of the flourishing of the Dharma and the benefits of living beings. All of the time and in whatever situation. You should consider things only for the sake of the flourishing of the Dharma and the benefits of living beings, all of the time and in whatever situation. Speak after making careful consideration. Act after giving attentive thought. Do not act rashly. Ponder over what is reasonable in whatever situation you encounter. Our life changes moment by moment. It flows by swiftly, day by day. Everything is impermanent and changing rapidly. This is the reality before our eyes. You do not need to wait for the teaching of masters or sutras to see it. In every moment, do not expect tomorrow will come. Think only of this day and this moment. Since the future is very much uncertain, you cannot foresee what will happen. You should resolve to follow the Buddha way, if only for today, while you are alive. To follow the Buddha way is to give up your bodily life and act so as to enable the Dharma to flourish and to bring benefit to all living beings. To bring benefit to all living beings, as it says in the Metta Sutra, each and every one, leaving none aside, all living beings. It might seem a tall task on the surface. And the reality is, when we're living each moment, each day, each moment, moment by moment, truly in this present moment, the rest very naturally happens. We've had so much going on now, most recently, a decision that could very likely cause a lot of harm to the very earth on which we live. We've had so much going on, it might be easy or tempting to give way to despair or to really be sucked in to strong emotions around it and to go down that road. I want to offer that we can return to the present moment, each moment, as a way of truly showing up for the benefit of all beings and for the benefit of the world around us. Because everything is constantly changing, this means that there's always a new moment. There's always another chance. There's always a fresh perspective. And because everything is constantly changing, the things that we're going through now are not unique to us. Don't you think people in the past have gone through challenges, have seen difficult times? Spread out and look not just to the entire living world, but to the entirety of history for inspiration, for hope, for purpose. And you will see, even in places where there has been a lot of harm, physical scarring of the earth, damage. Think of all the damage to the earth itself that's happened during wars. Recently, I saw a picture of the fields of mud and trenches from World War I and the gas that was spreading in World War I. And now look at those same places, and you might see a field of flowers. Bring that same spirit to yourself, to your own practice. Create the conditions that allow for those flowers to bloom, that allow for the healing to happen, and then allow our voice to come out in a way that helps and doesn't harm. When we get really stuck and feel fearful, we collapse in. We want to protect, we want to shelter, and we collapse in. And what happens when we collapse in out of fear is we also shut off. We can't afford to do that. And likewise, we can't afford to take in every single thing that's coming our way all the time and hold it. We let whatever comes up arise and pass away, not holding it, but really letting go. This is the way that we walk one foot after the other through this time with care. I came to this region to meet with a group of women Soto Zen teachers, a time of really quieting and coming together as women. It's a hard time for women right now in the United States. And if we are going to show up to all other women, we also have to care for ourselves. So we gathered in this space, again, surrounded by these beautiful trees and the birds and the lake to swim in, to really nourish our practice, sitting in silence together, talking about things that are important, and looking toward the future, creating a vision for how we see the world. not just recreating the old harmful ways of being, but allowing for what is here to emerge. During this week, we were gifted. I love this word. We don't usually say that word in the South, but people up here say that sometimes, and it's a really nice way of making that into a verb. Or we were gifted with animals, birds, rain, thunder, lightning bugs. So beautiful and so nourishing. There were chipmunks running around and squirrels, of course. There was a red fox and a bear. There were baby bears running through the woods. Each time we saw something, there was a porcupine. A porcupine is so cute, just munching on little flowers one at a time. Such a moment of wonder, just experiencing life together with all beings, just as we do with each other. So beautiful to experience this life together. Arriving to where I am now, on the front porch there were the screen had been ripped out, which seemed very odd. Why are there the screen is ripped out on the lower part of the screens? I mean, completely just a hole ripped out of the screen in two different places. And I was so confused by that when I saw it. There wasn't any damage to the house. Nobody had tried to break in, just the screen gone. And what I learned from the neighbor is that due to the climate emergency and shorter winters, the bears wake up earlier than usual, and they're hungry. And the foods that they usually eat are not yet here. So they go looking for food. The bears have appeared all over around here. They even try to eat people's chickens. So of course the people chase them away. And in this case, the bear was likely looking for food. Maybe smelled the grill on the front porch that had been left there. And I felt so tender toward the bear who was hungry and not receiving the nourishment that it needed. Wondered how it felt to be in that body, to wake up and to feel hungry, to feel a need, and not to have the nourishment that we need. How can you and I be present in a way that allows for that nourishment to arise when it's needed? We're not going to be able to feed all the bears. And we can live our life one day, one moment at a time in a way that nourishes the world around us. We do this by letting go of the things that come up and returning to the present moment, just like we do in our zazen practice. Letting our mind settle, letting our breath settle, so that each moment is precious and beautiful. In Zuimonki, Dōgen Zenji says, over here. It is rather easy to lay down one's own life and cut off one's flesh, hand, or feet in emotional outbursts. Considering worldly affairs, we see many people do such things, even for the sake of attachment to fame and personal profit. Yet it is most difficult to harmonize the mind, meeting various things and situations moment by moment. A student of the way must cool their mind as if they were giving up life and consider if what we are about to say or do is in accordance with reality or not. If it is, we should say it or do it. A student of the way must cool our mind as if we were giving up life and consider if what we are about to say or do is in accordance with reality or not. If it is, we should say it or do it. Our practice of zazen is not a passive practice. This is an active way of being in the world. This is the entire universe. But we don't practice in order to shut off from the world. We practice to let our mind settle so that the beauty and awe of the world very naturally appears, and the course of action we need to take very naturally appears, without all the extra getting in the way. You know, cutting off our own hand, as extreme as that sounds, is a metaphor with a sense of strong emotion, is the way that it's an illustration for what we do when we're so consumed by our anger or by our frustration or our fear that we act rashly in a way that actually harms ourselves and harms others. Without a hand, we can't help. So how are we going to show up? How are we going to be centered? We're going to still our mind, and we're going to watch our speech. We're going to allow space when we need space. You know, right now we might just want to scream, and maybe the time is to let it settle. Let it settle. Things aren't going anywhere. And this world needs us to show up fully, but to show up fully in a way that helps and doesn't harm. To consider carefully our thoughts and our actions. To be patient. I have a friend who was in the retreat with me this week who doesn't speak so often. They really wait for the right moment, allowing a lot of spaciousness before finally speaking. Sometimes people get impatient, and in that spaciousness, before the speech arrives, start throwing on their own words or their own ideas, or assuming that that spaciousness, that silence, means blank, means nothing. That spaciousness is our pause. That spaciousness allows us to gather, to settle. And this friend, when they finally speak, so nourishing to hear. There's so much depth to the speech that comes out from a place of really deep practice, not the speech that comes from a surface level or from a very strong emotional response. It's a measured kind of a speech, a very settled kind of a speech. And I want to encourage us to bring this quality to this moment of emergency around us. Is it the right time to say something? Is what I have to say necessary and true? Do I say it with a voice that's gentle and not harsh? Deeply consider these things in your speech and in your actions. And your voice will be heard. And not only that, it will make a difference in this world. And it will make a difference that brings us into, all of us, into accord with the Buddha Dharma, the way things are, as they are. Pay attention. Allow space. Let the truth arise from the silence, not from the chatter. Calm your mind. The situation is very urgent. You know, this isn't a theory. We all need, for all of us, to do this with great urgency. The world needs us to do this with great urgency. I was thinking a lot about this week about water, about the importance of water, clear water, clean water. I don't know why it was water in particular that came up for me, but I think maybe the ability to drink spring water and how nourishing that feels, how alive it feels. So I was thinking of this statement that came out some years back after September 11th, I believe, that was shared pretty widely. And it's a message from Hopi elders. You have been telling people that this is the 11th hour. Now you must go back and tell them that this is the hour. And there are things to be considered. Where are you living? What are you doing? What are your relationships? Are you in right relationship? Where is your water? Know your garden. It is time to speak your truth. Create your community. Be good to each other. And do not look outside yourself for the leader. This could be a good time. There's a river flowing now, very fast. It's so great and so swift that there are those who will be afraid. They will try to hold on to the shore. They will feel they are being torn apart, and they will suffer greatly. Know that the river has its destination. The elders say we must let go of the shore, push off into the middle of the river, keep our eyes open and our heads above the water. See who is in there with you and celebrate At this time in history, we are to take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. For the moment that we do, our spiritual growth and journey comes to a halt. Take nothing personally, least of all ourselves. The time of the lone wolf is over. Gather yourselves. Banish the word struggle from your attitude and your vocabulary. All that we do now must be done in a sacred manner and in celebration. We are the ones we have been waiting for. If you're waiting for somebody else to show up, if you're waiting for that perfect leader to drop down from the sky and save us from ourselves, you are looking in the wrong direction. Be that leader. Be that person. Don't lead from your mouth. Lead from your actions, from your words, from the way you live your life, silently, even without a voice. Show up with settled mind, with careful speech. Show up in a way that demonstrates to the entire universe the type of world that we want to live in together as one interconnected whole. I encourage you strongly. Gather yourself, settle your mind, and out of that silence, when it's time to speak, speak. When it's time to act, act. Do so in a way that inspires others to also speak out of silence, act out of calm. This is the way that we work with this time of great change and flux. This is the way that we show up fully here in this present moment, not for ourselves, but for the benefit of all beings. Thank you. You can see I'm not at my usual zendo today. And I'm just going to point out that wherever you are, you can make an altar. So altars have very basic components. First of all is a Buddha image. So this time I brought one that's portable, which is very beautiful. This bookmark that somebody offered at the Jukai ceremony. Let's see, there. And then we usually offer water, which I've done here. Try your best. My teacher always taught me this, and also others have taught me, offer the best water you can find. So if you have a spring, offer from the spring. If you have a stream, if you're in the city, you have good water in the city, but use good water. And just whatever you can find, offer the best water you can find. And then I don't have the regular incenser, so I just took a plate and put it in a little thing. And then we usually put flowers and light. So I found this little tea candle and these beautiful flowers that I received this week. So those are the basic components of an altar. It's very simple. And you can be creative if you're in a place where you don't have all of them. For example, sometimes I've offered, like, if I haven't had flowers, so I've offered a colorful rock, or like even an origami one time, just something I find that brings in that same spirit of a flower. So I just wanted to say that's an important component of your home altar as well.